Friendship, one of my favorite movies of last year because I saw it at TIFF, but then I saw it again at this year's South by Southwest because it is just that good. I'm sure you guys can tell by some of my little drive-by video add-ins that I'm a pretty big fan of Tim Robinson's humor. So when I found out he was going to be in a movie with Paul Rudd, I was so on board. And thankfully for me, it completely delivered. Outrageously hilarious both times I saw it, amazing audience engagement, just a genuine awkward delight of a movie that really knows how to dial it in before going too far, for me at least. Because yeah, I can understand why Tim Robinson might feel like a compilation of Michael Scott's worst moments, but I love this. Base premise, Robinson's character Craig, a pretty standard suburban man with no real passions or interests, not fully aware of the declining state of his marriage, ends up pulled into the charms of his new neighbor Austin, a local weatherman with a band and a taste for prehistoric weaponry. But after an awkward encounter, that charm quickly flips to an obsession that threatens to ruin Craig's life. The best way to describe the tone of this movie is that you take some like semi-surreal while still largely grounded A24 drama and then just like drop Tim Robinson in the middle of it. And that is a premise that speaks to my soul. In a lot of ways, it really does feel like an extended I Think You Should Leave skit, and I mean that in the best way because yeah, that could probably also seem super annoying or really not work, but there's enough going on here that it doesn't feel lazy or cheap or an extension of a single joke, and it really proves that Robinson has the juice to carry an entire movie. And is also kind of making some pretty poignant points on the idea of male loneliness, which I'll touch on later. Because ultimately this is really just a movie about people's desperation for connection and why it's so important. That's what DeYoung wanted to look at, but from the male friendship context over someone losing a relationship. Which is really interesting in a time where there is clearly a lot of struggle in that area that a lot of people don't know how to deal with and how easy it can be a meme. And it's Craig's inability to make that connection that is going to be the focus of this movie. I have seen some reviews where people are upset that this isn't like a classic bromance movie, but I don't think any of the marketing ever suggested that that's what it was going to be. So I really think that's on you if you were expecting something this movie was never offering. Like hell, so many of the reviews and early just little bits were calling it the anti-I Love You Man, or as my pal Zach put it, I Don't Love You Man. This was written and directed by Andrew DeYoung, specifically telling Robinson that it was written for him and that he wanted to shoot it like The Master, which is the Paul Thomas Anderson movie led by Joaquin Phoenix that was about a certain religious cult. And once you know that, you really do start seeing it when watching the movies, and I think that makes the whole thing that much more funny. Because yeah, this is probably the most artistically shot comedy I've ever seen. And even working with two comedians that you know do a lot of improv work, apparently they did keep it pretty close to the script, and that just really shows to the strengths of DeYoung. But obviously you have these two, and it's their physicality and their performance that amps up so much of it and brings so much to the table, but it really only works because it feels like they both knew what they needed to be doing. Rudd's always been good at bopping around from different types of comedy styles or even more serious tones when that's what's needed. So it really just feels like everything's working in service of the experience. So yeah, if you like Robinson's humor, or you're at least not expecting a 2000s or 2010 buddy cop comedy, I think you should have a pretty good time with this if you understand the vibe. Because I think on some level, everyone can kind of relate to Robinson's character in this movie, maybe not to the full extent, or maybe in ways that you wish you didn't relate to him so much. Maybe not necessarily the way he is as a person, but just that desire for connection and how it feels to lose things that matter or awkward social interactions that we've all had. And that goes right back to the inspiration for this movie. DeYoung said that the idea for it came from when he was trying to reach out to someone he used to work with to hang out and realizing that person really only saw him as a work acquaintance and had no interest in continuing the friendship and how that felt. Great setup for the psychological aspect of the story. And I just can't imagine a better person to watch dig his life into a hole in the awkward, uncomfortable way it's happening here than Tim Robinson. Cause man, the way he's acting in this movie, he might get kicked out of his home, which means he would probably need to get a new mattress, which is where today's sponsor, Birch, comes in. I've been using my Birch mattress for 3 years now, and I've never looked back. They're fiberglass free and made with responsibly sourced material and no polyurethane foam that can cause off-gassing. Just the goodness of things like organic cotton, organic wool, and 100% natural latex. But as with most things in life, it's gotta come down to the comfort. My old mattress felt really plush at first, but then I just sink into it more and more and wake up with terrible back pain. And in the summer, it retained way too much heat, so I was never getting a restful night's sleep. With Birch, I'm just getting a consistently better night's sleep. I'm not overheating, I'm getting significantly better support for my back, and I don't end up feeling the need to take as many naps. And I used to be a daily napper because I just wasn't getting enough restful sleep at night, and it was just trickling down into every aspect of my life. I think people forget how important a solid mattress is to their day-to-day life, but if you think about how many hours you spend on one, it's really important to make sure you've got the right one. It really is investing in your future with less aches and pains. They also have a bunch of different accessories, different mattresses you can choose between, and even options for kids. And the best part about going with Birch, they have a 100-day sleep trial, so you have over 3 months to decide if you love it. I loved how my Birch fell out of the box, but I remember in the winter I just wanted something a little bit more plush so I could really just sink in just a little bit, not too much to get that sore back, but just get all cozy in the winter. And that was is made so easy by their plush mattress topper, which is the coziest mattress topper I could imagine. Because again, it's not just some cheap foam that you're gonna sink into, it's made with the same kind of quality and care as the mattresses. And they deliver it right to your door for free within the US and offer a home setup and removal service to keep things as smooth as possible. Meaning you don't have to worry about what to do with your old mattress, which is always a headache. They take care of everything. But to make it even better, Birch is having their 4th of July sale, which you can take advantage of early by going to birchliving.com/Jedi and using code BirchPartner27 to get 27% off your mattress so you can love your bed as much as I do. All right, on to friendship, and just explaining why in so many ways it feels like how a lot of A24 horror got pegged as elevated horror. This might be considered elevated comedy, but still dumb as hell. Again, take Tim Robinson, drop him into an A24 family drama, and this is what you get. Because right from the opening, you know what you're in for. I don't think you need to be familiar with this comedy to enjoy this, but it might take you a minute to settle in if you have no frame of reference for the humor. I actually saw another movie recently called Sharp Corner where Ben Foster plays a guy who gets obsessed with the sharp turn in front of his house where accidents keep happening, and it's the same type of comedy and very similar to the obsession in Friendship, but it can take a second to orient yourself in what like the intended tone is. But Friendship starts at a cancer support group where Craig's wife Tammy, played by Kate Mara, is talking about how helpful her firefighter ex-boyfriend Devin's been on her remission journey. And it's just the slow pullback to reveal Tim's face, the reaction he has to things she's saying while he's mostly been delusionally positive about all her fears. Well, except for one fear.
Will I ever orgasm again?
The face he makes to then follow it up with this.
I'm orgasming, fine.
It's just a perfect setup for what we're gonna get in this movie. This man who just seems to be willfully ignoring all of the little issues in his life. But things really start with a wrong delivery. A package drop off to a new neighbor. The type of encounter where I almost wondered if the weird obsessive person in this movie was going to be Paul Rudd's character Austin. Because of that lingering look of appreciation after the interaction capped off with,
"Stay curious, Craig Waterman."
But that's because, as you'll learn, as cool as Craig ends up thinking Austin is, he kinda isn't, or like, not as much. A lot of it just feels like a facade of coolness with just enough authenticity or presentation of authenticity that most people are gonna be like, yeah, that's a guy that knows what's up. He's secure in himself, but it does feel like a performance. And Tim is just so awkward. Like, I saw someone describe the way he interacts with the world as like him being almost human, maybe some alien designed to mimic a human, but he just can't figure out how to nail those last few percentage points to get it right. And that feels so incredibly accurate for this movie. It feels like he's so often trying to be normal and chill that it can come across as aggressive and unnatural. Even his job feels like the worst progression of human shortcomings. Like, his whole career is to find ways to make people more addicted to their phones.
We work with clients who are trying to make their products more habit-forming. So when the person tries to detach themselves from the product, they become extremely displeased and they just continue using it.
I feel like we need to add something that makes the user feel expressed or judged.
He proudly gets all of his clothes from a company called Ocean View Dining.
It's the only clothes that fit me just right.
A24 actually released the pants, and I am so tempted to buy them, but there's just no way in hell they'll fit me. He's such this little shell of a man that there's this comment later where Austin's got him feeling all like a new man, that he's listening to Slipknot, jamming around the kitchen, and his wife's like, you don't listen to music. Literally a man with such a lack of any tangible qualities or interests that of course he'd latch on to the first person that has hobbies. But you also kind of get the feeling that some of the other people in this movie aren't always acting completely normal either, so how could he ever begin to react to that? Something else that plays into that semi-surreal feeling, which can sometimes mean that Craig will seem like the most normal person in a room, which is always uncomfortable. Like, the movie makes the choice to have his wife and son be like too intimate. Like, they literally kiss on the lips.
You guys kiss each other on the lips?
Absolutely played for absurdity, but you'll realize that it's really to drive home the fact that Craig and Tammy have no intimacy the entire movie. So it both gets to be this absurd thing played for comedy and to show this like extreme contrast in their home that Craig's just entirely ignoring. But another reason why I thought that Paul's character might end up being the obsessed one originally, because keep in mind when I first saw this movie, the only thing I had was a still image and a brief description. It's that he's the one that invites Craig around first, which almost annoys Craig. He's got a set routine of sitting on his chair. Mostly just wants to see the new Marvel with the fam.
That's supposed to be nuts.
But his kid's already seen it, and his wife's going out for drinks with her ex, so he might as well go over. Man, I can't believe his wife set up a play date for him while she goes to see an ex. But as mentioned earlier, Austin's got this whole like aura around him and quirky little traits and hobbies, and Craig's just eating it right up. He thinks it's all cool as hell. Even when Austin's bringing him through the sewers to break into City Hall to drink some beers like they're teenagers trespassing for the first time, it's just like awakening the joie de vivre inside him. Imagining himself on stage when he's watching Austin's band, feeling like a giddy schoolboy. boy. And up to a certain point, Austin really digs Craig too. Austin wants to do the morning weather slot and Craig's just like, just ask for it. I wanted an office and I just asked for it. And it actually worked. He gets the morning slot. But obviously, when Tim Robinson is involved, the honeymoon phase can only last so long. Craig gets invited to one of Austin's boys' nights, and figuring out how to navigate an entire group of close friends is obviously a much more daunting task.
Just be yourself. You're a freaking prince. Can I use your restroom really fast?
It's the way that it doesn't break at first and then just like casually smashes behind him. Incredible, classic Tim Robinson, but it's also just how he plays it off that makes you think, hey, maybe this is gonna work out.
So how'd y'all meet?
He's dialed in, he's got the little golly shucks shrug and all to really send it home. This has been everything he never knew he needed in life. A group of men willing to be vulnerable with one another, offering support, but still getting up to bro activities like boxing. Typically, the thing that everyone says that dudes need to get better at is forming like genuine bonds with one another where they can be more vulnerable so they can be more satisfied in those interpersonal connections. Just breaking down those ideas that vulnerability means weakness. And most importantly, not turning vulnerability and inner strength into a lifestyle course where you pay another man $10,000 to yell at you. But Craig almost immediately derails all this good favor by sucker punching Austin twice in boxing after getting hit a couple times, instantly killing the vibes and making it so much worse by doubling down on that golly shucks shtick that worked for him before, by eating a bar of soap.
I know my punishment. I'm a bad boy. I'm a bad boy.
Oh my god, this is everything to me. I love it so much. It is so obvious in that moment that there is no going back from this, but Craig's just gonna keep doubling down the way that only Tim Robinson can, refusing to take the hint that Austin won't answer his phone or messages and just goes down to the station while he's on air.
So I was gonna go to Rick's bar. They have a SEAL Team 6 lunch. That's what the guys ate after they killed Osama.
The bits keep hitting. Like, who thought to put in the meal that they ate after killing Osama bin Laden in this? Even went ahead and ordered those drums that Austin had encouraged him to get and just rocks up with them in a cart only to be properly shut down.
You made me feel too free. You all accepted me way too fast. You can't do that.
It feels so real. I love this so much. It's just this like perfect blend of self-aware and completely unaware. I've also got to point out that one of the main issues of contention in their relationship is that Tammy runs a floral business and has been like begging for a bigger vehicle, some kind of van, so that she can actually do it right. So to have him turn up with a very expensive drum kit and not have a van yet is definitely going to be some contention in the relationship. So without his connection to the source, Craig's just going to try to recreate it all, first with his son trying to pick mushrooms like they did that day he lost his phone but doesn't know what to look for and ends up poisoned. Then he decides to try making his own guys' night with his coworkers who also don't like him, becoming more and more obsessed with trying to get back that thing he got a taste of with someone he actually likes. So the second he gets another one of Austin's packages, he is in no shame or embarrassment, just pops over. But when no one answers, it gets worse. He goes inside the house. I understand why the average moviegoer would be experiencing such tense anxiety through this movie, but thankfully the film festival setting really helped ease me through. But oh my god, this scene was rough. Just walking around mystified by all their stuff, washing dishes, and then he finds Austin's golden gun and starts brandishing it around in a work call. Then he accidentally takes it with him when he realizes that Austin's wife has been home the entire time. And I just have no idea how a Tim Robinson cringe comedy with a gun introduced is going to go. Chekhov could never have anticipated this. But yeah, considering he left the gun box open on the desk, obviously that's going to become a thing very fast when they realize it's gone. And when he gets home, Tammy's getting ready to go to Austin's housewarming party because Craig clearly hasn't told her that they want nothing to do with him. So he pretends the party's been canceled, she wants to invite Devin over, and he still legitimately hasn't registered who that is.
Maybe Devin's available?
Devin?
Do you ever listen?
Then actually realizes he might have fucked up a bit and tries to flip it all around to have a fun night by bringing her to the sewers in the rain. Oh no, and yeah, of course she gets lost. The directions this movie goes, I simply could not have ever estimated. Because when he realizes she's missing, he just goes home. I get that he can't call anybody because he dropped his phone in a puddle again.
Oh! My phone!
But come on, man! And when he gets home, the cops are already there because Austin knows he must be the person who took the gun, which gets completely ignored when they ask to speak to his wife.
She's not here.
Where is she?
She's in the sewer.
I'm quite literally obsessed with every second of this. So they head down to the sewers, and the more Craig runs his mouth, the more the cops are like, these are all things we can arrest you for. So yeah, both him and Austin do get arrested for trespassing, where we get the big reveal about Austin. He wears a toupee or a hairpiece. Man, imagine having that revealed because you slipped in prison piss. And honestly, if that's you, no shame. Sure, you can rock the bald or get implants or wear a hat, but I've seen some incredible hairpieces, so you do what you want to feel confident in yourself. But for Austin, this is clearly a massive source of anxiety. He really thinks it would ruin his on-air career, which he's already worried about losing because of the arrest. He also pretty clearly has an ego about himself, just not to the level of whatever's going on with Craig, so that would be something that would hurt him. But that's what I meant earlier when I said it was kind of like a performance of the confident guy out of Austin. Because you never really know what kind of insecurities the person you think is perfect has. Whatever, they somehow let Craig go home the next morning even though he should technically be a suspect in a break and enter, and his wife is still missing in the sewers for reasons they don't completely believe.
No, it's not trespassing, it's adventure. I was showing my wife a fun night. We beat cancer.
Making jokes to his son because he seems to have gotten a girlfriend.
Replaced your mother already, huh?
Jesus Christ, I just love it. And even after this little breakdown from looking at a flower, he still goes to work to do the pitch for the mayor, where he is immediately upstaged by a coworker, making the mayor a superhero.
I look like a marvel.
So here's the first level of Craig's full crash out: the constant disrespect, the time they removed his keycard access, all to this moment. The fact that they've been saying this mayor sucks the entire movie.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of you! Don't pick me up, Ian!
So yeah, that's his career gone. Not that he really wants to accept that either. He seems pretty surprised he's actually being fired. Thankfully, that's right about when they find the wife, who has entered a realm of resentment where she doesn't even seem to have the energy to be mad at him. Made all the worse when he doesn't even seem to take ownership over his responsibility, which is why some of the interactions at our welcome home party catch him off guard. We get a lovely little Connor O'Malley feature here. Friend of the channel, Zach, also put me onto his comedy. And it's just finally someone calling Craig out on his shit because he really doesn't seem to blame himself for the fact that Tammy went missing at all.
Now, how does it feel to ditch your wife?
It was an adventure.
You should be dead!
So now he obviously needs to infiltrate the party to prove how much he cares. Again, trying to make it all about him. And immediately ends up overshadowed by Devin, who, yeah, is everything you may have expected when you heard Firefighter X.
To Tammy Pinto.
Tammy Waterman. It's actually Tammy Waterman.
Oh no, not the maiden name! The disrespect in your own home! And they just keep upping the awkward with him trying to start a parade for her while people just continue the toast, Connor ending his off with,
I'll leave you guys with this. We should still be in Afghanistan.
again, it's just the most unexpected jokes. I know I'm showing a lot of clips and funny moments, but I really just can't express how much more there still is in this movie. So that's pretty well his family life spiraled out, whether he realizes it yet or not. He spends the entire day at a bar still thinking Tammy would want to be around him, jealous that she's having dinner with TV execs.
You wouldn't be a big TV star if I didn't take you to that little cool place.
Oh my god, this man.
I had an orgasm in the sewer system.
Again, if you gave me unlimited time in the world, I never would have been able to anticipate that coming out of her mouth. But that's just building into her leaving him, so she's gonna go stay in Devin's pool house, and even after seeing him at the party, he says,
Harold?
so up his own ass he can't even remember the one person he should be super worried about. But now for the second time he goes to replace his phone, but this time takes the guy up on getting something a little stronger than beer.
My name's Tony, but when my hair's down, people call me T-Boy.
And because of Austin, he wanted to try ayahuasca, feels like he needs something to get unstuck in life, but the closest thing T-Boy has is Toad. And when I tell you that this is my favorite drug trip in any movie ever, I am being so for real right now because normally I hate them. This man licks the Toad and ends up inside a Subway for like 60 seconds with a much older Austin serving him, and then it's done. Like they get to the point of asking whether he wants it toasted or not.
I went to Subway.
The eatery?
And that was in the script already as Subway, not some like added in product placement. DeYoung assumed he'd never be able to get Subway and was planning to use a generic sub shop, but they were just like, hell yeah, use us. Also, do you want some money on top of that? Of all the ways that this movie ends up touching on these surreal vibes, the weird galaxy moment early on when Austin's telling him about this prehistoric weapon and he kind of has to see himself as being part of something bigger, the way it expresses him imagining his future as great friends. And this is how they do the drug trip? I love it. So not having the best time, even his phone's making fun of him while we get a reverse of the scene earlier where he's talking about how awesome having friends are.
This is why guys shouldn't have friends.
Got a job as a parking enforcer, which honestly seems like a solid fit for him. The only thing he really cares about is finishing meal team 6.
It's 22,000 calories.
But then when they're all out for dinner for Stevie's birthday, it seems like he might have pulled himself together a bit. Has a chance to show the ways he might have changed, expressing interest in her life, standing up for her honor.
I'm not scared of you. I bought a van today.
Oh my god, finally getting her the van and expressing his shortcomings in the relationship? She's even willing to stick around at the house to watch a movie. It seems like he's really come around. Until he goes to get some birthday candles, sees that Austin's having one of his get-togethers and that he got the car he always wanted, a car he said that Craig could get the first ride in. And you'd think, maybe, just maybe he'll let it go, but of course not. It's Tim Robinson. His whole thing is doubling and tripling down beyond all reason. So he almost crashes his minivan into the car before hitting the speed bump that he fought the city to get put in.
I had to go to war with the city to put in a speed bump.
He is his own downfall in so many ways. Then he just walks into Austin's house as if nothing's happened, trying to apologize when that doesn't work.
It's cool if I stay. I apologized.
Obviously, none of them are remotely down for that plan, so this is when the gun comes out. Not specifically to hurt anybody, he's just so desperate to get them to listen to him. Only calming down somehow when he realizes they've already got another new guy.
Who the hell are you? Jim.
And it's like jump with an I.
Jimp.
It's just like, it's such a small joke, but it hits so hard. Fucking Jimp. So then he starts singing to try to get them all back in on that, which is when Austin takes a dive at him, which dislodges his toupee. And to protect Austin from his friends finding out, Craig goes full Tim Robinson to distract them all. Before he realizes that someone called the cops and he's right back through the glass door, leaving us with another daydream about them all being pals as Austin carries him out of the house the way he imagined himself doing earlier. Delusions made all the worse when Austin leaves him with one last wink. It's unhinged. I love it. But also speaking to a lot of those darker thoughts we have in our minds when it comes to being liked and being worried that we're not. So yeah, that's Friendship, an incredibly unhinged look at connection, trying to find it, and how that can be impossible when you're too self-absorbed to see anything outside your own brain. This movie really only hits us hard because of how clueless he is to the feelings of everyone around him, until Austin pops up to show him this entire reality he didn't know was possible. The movie itself works in this great area where there is a message to be found here, a statement on society and connection, but it doesn't specifically feel like DeYoung was setting out to do like a big think piece like that. This can just be absorbed as an absurd comedy about connection. But if I had to leave it on a message for you, I would do it on this quote I really liked from Paul Rudd when someone asked him about how men can go about making friends. Let those friendships form a foundation of shared empathy and humor and not anger and aggression, which is absolutely an issue we have in this world. And a great thing to remember, be jovial bros, not angry bros. Seek out those connections the best way you can and don't pull a Craig. But yeah, that is gonna do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys were thinking of Friendship down below. Did you know what you were getting into when you watched it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I could see you going either way, but I love it. So thank you all so much for watching. Thanks as always to my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members, and to Birch for sponsoring the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing. All my other social medias are listed down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later.